Today is day 18. Just finished day 18 of the 90-day challenge. I'm 20% through my challenge. How am I doing? Hard to tell. Some days I feel I'm not making any progress. I think I am. I think I understand more. Monday, I have a discussion with a person that I spoke to in Korean many months ago. We'll see if she thinks that I've made any progress. Of course I will make progress. I know that from experience. You just have to keep at it even when you think you aren't making progress. And today, for example, I had various errands to run. I had to wait in an office for an hour. So I felt that I would have trouble getting in my my learning, but I did a couple of articles. When I say I did, I linked. I went through creating links for a couple of articles from Chosun Ilbo in the morning, listened while clearing the breakfast dishes and cleaning things and stuff like that. I had probably 45 minutes of doing flashcards while waiting in this office. Probably another, I would say, half an hour to 40 minutes in the car listening. Then I discovered some very good articles in our library at Link, which, what are they called again here? It's part of a collection contributed by Imani, who's our great benefactor. And it is CBS Kyoge News. And lots of good articles there with audio and text. So I went through and I linked about 3 or 4 of those, which I'm going to be reading on my handy iPad before I go to bed. I'll knock off those articles. So one way or another, I think I will get my 2.5 or so hours in today. It's important to stay with it because it's relentless. You have to. It's just a process of attrition. You're beating down this language, creating habits, and so we just have to stay with it. And ordinarily, I probably wouldn't have done anything today, but because I have this 90-day challenge, I feel obligated to force myself. That's what the whole challenge is about. And and of course, if you've been following the challenge or if you're participating, if you get the updates, you'll see just how many people are participating, which languages are the most popular. English is, I think, #1, and then French, Spanish, Russian, German are in there. So it's going well, and I hope everyone else is enjoying it. I am, even though I don't feel I've made any tremendous strides. I kind of brought myself back to where I was. One interesting thing, reading in a different alphabet. So reading in Hangul is always a strain. I always found reading in the Russian alphabet a strain because ever since I started reading, I've been reading in the Roman or the Latin alphabet. But now after reading my Korean, I was just reading some stuff on our Russian language forum at Link that was in Russian, of course, and it's easier to read now. You know, it's a bit like resistance training. By forcing myself to read so much Korean, I find the Russian a real delight to read now. Less resistance to reading in that, you know. Reading in Czech is easier in a way because it's in the familiar alphabet. Doesn't matter. Those are the joys of learning another language. One thing I wanted to mention too is, you know, one of the things I did today, by the way, again while listening to some extent till I just got tired of listening, I was cleaning up my books because I found in my audio files, there was the audio files from a thing called Dekiru Kankokugo, which is a Japanese series for learning Korean. And they have other languages that they teach as well. And it's particularly good, and I couldn't find the book anywhere. So I buried amongst all my books, so I was looking all over. And as I did that, of course, I looked at all the different books that I bought for Korean over the years, particularly 7, 8 years ago when I got very keen on Korean. And one thing that is very clear is that the books for learning Korean that are produced in the United States or Canada, UBC for example, are much inferior to the books that you can get in Japan. Remarkably inferior. And the reason is because in these books like these, and these, and these, which is a humongous series, you've got a ratio of actual language content to superfluous explanation and exercises and drills. Like the content is less than 10%. Of a book like this, there's hardly any content in it. Lots of explanations where they try to account for every possible variation of the language, it seems to me. You know, things that we'll eventually get used to. Once we have enough words, you know, the language, all languages are somewhat redundant. We'll figure out what they're trying to say. We don't need it all. We don't need all that. What we need is interesting content. And the other problem with the books that are produced in North America, other than the one at UBC, my favorite North American book, is that the content is so dreadfully boring. 8 out of 10 in intermediate, in beginner, it's all about these quaint aspects of Korean culture, which are not that interesting. I had the same when I was learning Japanese. I'm not that interested in in Japanese festivals, you know, Shichigo-san or whatever. In my daily life in Japan, I had very little reason to be interested in those. What's interesting is the daily life of people in different situations, or in my case, history and current events and so forth, but even people in different situations, going to parties, having fun, but genuine. And so then you get to Japan, and that's what they give you. They have this Dekiru Kankokugo. This one here was not so good. This was Kanyo Hyogen. You know, often with these books, you get to them later on. At the present time, I'm not that fond of this. The lessons are too short. But the intermediate level, Dekiru Kankokugo, is excellent. And I can't find the book here. I may have to order it again. I was hoping I could find an electronic version on the internet so that I could import it into Link. But then notice all these, notice the size of the Japanese books versus the, you know, North American books. You know, huge. And not to mention the price of them, like $20, $25. And mostly just content. Now, granted, there may be other books that I didn't buy, but, you know, KBS, excellent quality. Sound quality is excellent. Content is excellent. I can't really follow these all that well, but I will. I'm going to get to these. Again, I failed in my attempt to try and scan these so that I can read them on Link. It doesn't seem to work. Scanning is not accurate enough. But the Japanese books, like those books that I showed you the other day with the patterns, limited amount of explanation. Here's the language, and listen to it, repeat it. Here's what these words mean. Very practical. So I don't know why that is. I think it's probably the influence of linguistics and, I don't know, sociolinguistics and you know, the North America, because it's handled more by the universities in North America, and they're hoping to be peer reviewed and get their books approved by different academic, you know, departments. Whereas in Japan, people are competing to produce books that people will actually buy and enjoy and find useful and tell their friends to buy. So it's a whole different you know, business model. And I think the commercial business model that operates in Japan for these language books, it results in better books. At any rate, 20% through my challenge. Now going off to do a bit more reading on my iPad, having sort of slogged my way through them, linking the words that I didn't know.